Before I let you ask questions, this even understanding the Abhidharma a little bit intellectually, I think it can really create it can really make a big difference. Now I'm talking as a very Buddhist chauvinist. This letter that I read, I think it's a letter written by Einstein. That letter, I think, was quite good. So, I got it from somewhere. It says, Michel, right? Michel Besso, I guess a physicist. Michel Besso died in March 1955, and the very last letter in the correspondence is written to members of Besso's family a few days later, and just a week before Einstein's own death at the age of 76. The letter ends with a famous sentence which reflects their deep friendship and the scientific understanding they shared, as well as the distance they had traveled since those happy days as patient clerks in Bern, Switzerland, right? And this is what he wrote. Now he has again preceded me a little in parting from this strange world. This has no importance. For people like us who believe in physics, the separation between past, present, and the future has only the importance of an admittedly tenacious illusion. That gives us a big, big hope for the scientific people. It should. And not just past, present, and the future. The workings of the dhatus, ayatanas, and stained phenomena, stainless phenomena. I'm trying to use some different term. Compounded phenomena, uncompounded phenomena. And mind, matter, and I keep on forgetting, non-associated formation. I think it helps us to transcend ourselves from this sort of a box of time and space, and then of course all the other that comes with it. So, do you have questions? You don't have to ask, Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, tell me.
Rinpoche, my question is regarding when you speak about the tantric headhunter. Headhunter.
Mm-hmm.
And when they meet a person and let's say they feel, okay, this person falls in the, fall in the desire come. and I think the Amitabha Buddha family, hence.
Something like, yeah, it is.
So I just wanted to know that as per the tantric psychology, so when the tantric guru identifies, okay, this is the family, how, if you can give an example of, to understand the psychology behind, how is this energy of this predominant emotion used to help the student come closer to enlightenment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Since you brought up the Amitabha, and Amitabha is a big one actually. Well, actually Amitabha is probably the most domineering because, supposedly, according to the Tantra, because we live in the Kama Dhatu, meaning desire realm. So it's something like this. All our anger, jealousy, pride, ignorance, doubt. Oh, this reminds me, I've totally forgotten something else. Okay, I will take klesha, yes. That all of it is a version. For us, it's just a version. This is a version of desire. So it's almost like rightfully, we should almost say something like, it's like a, African American, Hispanic American, they use this word. It's almost like we have to say the desire of the anger, jealousy of the anger, pride of the anger, like that. Desire of the desire, anger of the desire in our case. Anyway, well, the Tantrikas will say this is why, in the Tantra, most of the deities are related to Amitabha, the family, such as Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara. And then, anyway, usage. How do we use? There's one really obvious one, lotus. Color, red, like that. Gesture, lotus bud, stuff like this. So, sadhanas, mudras, mantras, that are so associated with the desire, supposedly. Like color, red, a lot of red thing to do. Shape also. So the sadhana is full of this. And then also, if you go to Anuyoga Tantra, then there's a really explicit ones. Okay, before I forget, just very briefly about klesha. Myanmar, defilement, or sometimes people translate this as a neurosis, right? Do they? Or klesha as an emotion only? I don't know. Anyway, desire, anger, and ignorance, let's assume that we kind of know a little bit about this. It's many times in the Abhidharma, one of the emotion is tetsum, doubt. This is very, very, for me it is very interesting. So, like what I'm saying, the reason why it's interesting is, I don't know, maybe the psychiatrist and the psychotherapy has this, but people do go to psychologists for having too much anger, too much temper, too much, desire, addiction, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know whether people actually go to psychotherapists for having too much critical thinking. Because critical thinking is cherished, right? Critical thinking is encouraged. You are supposed to be smart if you are thinking critically. Well, Abhidharma will say, critical thinking is an emotion. Critical thinking is a klesha. It doesn't give you, so wow, the study of the doubt is a really, really big, because it is this klesha of doubt that produces what we call lokta, wrong view. It's supposedly, somebody like Lord Maitreya, the future Buddha, Maitreya, would say something like, I can have as many, I can have as mountain Meru like anger, Mount Meru like oceans like desire, like sky like anger, this and that like jealousy, but may I not have this wrong view. Because wrong is considered the fundamentally, if you have a wrong view, then it's the fundamentally, because you have a misinterpretation, wrong view, all the other clashes, no matter how much you try to tame, the sort of the main grandfather or the grandmother of the klesha is still there. Something that we need to pay attention in the modern world. I would say, this is my own interpretation, okay, so it's not really from the text. I sometimes think that a lot of the modern world, problem comes from wrong view, misunderstood view, lokta, mitra drishti. Yeah, right, mitra drishti. How do you translate that into English? Wrong view? Okay. And wrong view can be a lot of things, categories. There's one big one is lejumdela lopartawa, meaning having a wrong view of cause and effect. Okay? Now, at glance, okay, now this time I'm really stirring you a bit. At glance, you will think, well, that should be kind of, easy to spot. But it's not. Somebody, okay, now again I'm bringing this a little bit tantric philosophy. Somebody like the great Jigme Lingpa would say, Chadang Wangchu Ramang Insene. This is a big one. I'm stirring you a little bit. The cherishing individualism. I have quite a big conviction that a lot of the Tantrika will say is deeply rooted to the wrong view. Because they think it's just not possible. And it will bring a lot of problem for you. Like clinging to that. It's just not possible, right? How long can you lock your door? Cherishing, treasuring individualism. Think about it. I will give you as a homework. It's my, okay. Let you ask question now. Yes, Professor.
Rinpoche, just now you mentioned about this critical thinking, but is it not that, in Buddhism, with lots of analysis, lots of categorization?
Oh, sure, yes.
So isn't it a critical thinking, or how would you demarcate?
Sure, of course. That is also, in that sense, we even encourage for you to want enlightenment. So that's a desire, right? We also encourage you to not want desiring objects. That's almost like an anger. So on and so forth. So the path, as Buddhists always say, path is always a flaw. That's why it's a path. That's why you don't want to be dwelling on it. We can use it, you should use it, but Yeah, it's okay.
Just one more thing. I mean, how finally can we connect this practice or understanding of Abhidharma with, I mean, Vasubandhu himself was he had this doctrine of Chittamatra, consciousness only, and then on the other side we have Shunyata. So how can this Abhidharma categorization be linked to this two main doctrines like Shunyata or mind only? How is the connection?
This is something I don't think I can answer you soberly or unbiasedly. I'm very, very brainwashed by the Tibetan. They always think, oh, he's, like Shunyata person. But I think, I don't know, Chittamata is big time. It's big. Chittamata Yogacharya is very big. I always say this, if you, today, democracy is important, and when we talk about democracy, we are talking about heads, right? How many heads? So if you want to count heads, Chittamata will win landslide from the Abhidharma people. Yeah, almost all China, Japan, and I think Korea. These guys are, I think, Chittamata or Chittamata influenced. It's only us Tibetans who are sort of, stuck with the Nagarjuna and all those Nalanda people, This Asangas Saddenga, like 5 Bhumi. He has a text. There's something quite, I think, important. And by the way, just for your information, if you want to ever visit a Chittamata monastery, there is in Japan. One of them is called Kiyomizu-san. I was reading it, Kiyomizu-san. It's so beautiful. Yogacharya Bhumi? Yeah.
So Rinpoche, these ideas of dharmas, ultimately in Abhidharma we are getting all those dharmas. So from there, how can we can have this journey or jump from there to, dharma nairatmya, non-self of dharmas?
Oh, Abhidharma also, I didn't cover this because especially Lamdang Kansatembe Lewu, there's a chapter where it talks about the path dweller and the path, because I'm assuming that a lot of people know about the Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Noble Path, Shamatha, Vipassana, you at least have some information. So those paths are designed to understand the anatta, of course. There's a whole system on that. In fact, quite meticulously. I think I briefly mentioned, contrary to a lot of what people think, even shamatha, act of breathing in and out and concentrating on that, has a Four Noble Truth in it. It's not purely, it should not be dismissed purely as, just concentrating on the breathing. It's like a mental exercise. In fact, it has the Four Noble Truth, and it should. In fact, the Vasubandhu will say, if you are just breathing in and out and just concentrate, he will say, it's okay, fine, it's good for your mind and relaxing and all that, but it's not really path. It's not really the second, the fourth noble truth, which is the, noble truth, the path, the cessation of the suffering. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Rinpoche, for the teachings. It did quite stir me up a bit in a good way. One of the questions that I was wondering is, when you spoke about information and that the dhatus are kind of like a processor of information, it got me thinking whether is the objective to not retrieve any information in our memory?
No, it's okay to begin with, to really realize that's how it is. I think by doing so, it's already going to make a big hole. Right now, information is never taken as an information. Information is always ends up taken, remember I gave you the three things? It's always taken as substantially existent or worse, truly existent.
Yeah, so the way I kind of got it is you use it to analyze and think for yourself.
Yes.
And not take it just into the face value.
Exactly. So that's what I was quoting Einstein. If you know these things, I think you will transcend.
And how does that connect with the memory aspect of mind? Because that's why you're storing all of this information. So I'm a little confused on that aspect.
You mean the object of mental faculty?
Yeah, like when we say we are absorbing any information, it's also stored in your memory, which is not a fresh experience then. So that's what I'm wondering.
I'm really glad many of you ask this kind of questions. I can sleep well tonight because it's actually really meaning that you have listened and see, this question actually should now open another Pandora box, which is, there's a whole study on Kunji, which is alaya, ground. Oh. So, but it should not be understood, alaya should not be understood as a sort of a storage room for Costco. You understand, like a storage room. It's not really something like this. Especially if you belong to these schools like a Yogacharya that we were talking earlier. It's a bit like you only believe that you remember. How sad it is. It's kind of sad, isn't it, in a way, from the really, really worldly point of view. That's about all there is. But matter gets more complicated when we talk about things like, karma, karmic effect. And then we explain the karmic consequences. And then we get sort of blamed for talking something very, very magical, but we are not. And my argument is, if you kill somebody and you get arrested tomorrow, technically these two are different beings. But in the world, in the relative world, we believe that you are the same person. You can argue scientifically. So dharma, the path, path is a complementary to this kind of delusion. Okay? Has to be. Yes, dharma, I know it's an antidote. So in your mind, in most of the people's mind, antidote has to be a stark different from this problem. Now here again, Tantra says something different. I mean, different is maybe not the right word, but the Tantric way of evaluating a path is when everything Buddha taught that seemingly has this feel of distance between the solution and the problem is what they call common vehicle. Common, like common teachings. Because by the time you reach to the Tantra, then solution and the problem has no difference. Okay.
Thank you for your teaching, Rinpoche. I have a question that pertains to the half chapati. I'll just ask the question in a little bit of context. My question is, how do we give up the half chapati without giving up on life? And the context for that is, especially when it comes to patients who have depression and suicidal ideations, when you explain that when we see the world through, the ayatanas, the dhatus, we create this false sense of self. And that is where the craving and grasping self arises from. However, with patients like this, the almost symptoms or the signifier of their depression is losing interest in things. So they seem to be giving up on life because they do not cling and grasp. And the second part of that context is also when we are trying to treat them and we try and push them towards taking an interest.
I understand. Yeah. This is a classic question. Okay, I will give you the answer a little bit dramatic way, okay? You need to be good at plotting. Plot? Okay, to make it more dramatic. All the Buddha's teachings have a vested interest. It has an ulterior motive. And that's anatta. So, let's say you are dealing with somebody who has a problem. Your vested interest should be also to bring into that. And you, as the doctor, somebody who is working with, has to keep this in your head. Then, by all means, give 10 chapati. And do whatever you need to do with it.
Doesn't that become contaminated virtuous karma?
This is why I'm saying you should keep that thing in your head. That's why you'll become a good healer. The healer, it's a bit like, it's actually really good. If you like, I can say it's like the ultimate humility. You know this path is not true. You know,
brass and the gold.
Yes, you know this is a trick, but you know this is the only way. So it's really the best, and that's called Mahakaruna, compassion. It's so nice that you made 10 chapati. That's like, wow. Okay.
Rinpoche, if time is an illusion and memory is imaginary, and we only believe we remember, what could possibly be the difference between sitting under the Bodhi tree 2,500 years ago and sitting here now?
If time is illusion, no. No difference, right?
Thank you.
Did you thank me just now? Okay, somehow there seems to be a...
Rinpoche, very thank you for your teaching. I ask you about this strawberry because you said about stand, taste, And when you say strawberry, I thinking strawberry fields forever. And I listen in my head music, and I just thinking about dance. And what is real? More real? This strawberry or my strawberry fields forever? Is it exist? This fields forever? Because when I ask about some things, my professor of philosophy, he told me, no, it's only in your head. It's not exist. But that's why when it's not exist, that's why these things influence for doing different things by other people, by politicians, by media who create other stories. How it is?
I think you are asking, I'm just guessing. I think your question is, how come, I think you're talking about a group phenomena, I have a feeling, right? How there is something like, okay, I have my own 12 interdependent co-origination with my strawberry, right? But how come we have to live with somebody like, Justin Trudeau? Okay, let's say if you're a Canadian, how come we have to have that? Is that what you're talking about, the group,
Yeah.
12 interdependent co-origination? Yes, yeah. So I think we talked about this a little bit.
And you know,
I think that, I'm coming back to Abhidharma. Group is it's a perception, it's a projection, but group is important. I was talking just this morning. Let's say you and I want to go for a walk in the forest. It is better I say, hey, shall we go for a walk in the forest? That's better communication. I cannot say, shall we go and walk under a leaf? You understand? You cannot communicate because we are stuck with the idea like group. That's how it works. So yes, there is, so on that level we can have 12 interdependent co-origination in the group sense. But it's actually, it's all in parts.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Rinpoche. My question is, what is truth? Waking up to a dream or where I dreamt of having poison, reacting to the dream, or again going back to sleep after the dream?
I think I kind of answered that yesterday. What is the truth? And also this morning, something, okay, I will only speak like academic, okay, based on the text. Something that is uncontrived and independent, something that cannot be manipulated. So according to the Buddhists, the truth is, ultimately, it is just a selflessness.
Hi, Rinpoche. Thank you for your teachings. So just to give you a little bit of context to my question, we were discussing the teachings yesterday, and some of us had different interpretations of your teachings.
Oh,
So-
I'm sure.
And so that kind of led me to think that reality is very subjective. In fact, in psychology, they say that reality is very different from person to person because of how their experiences and all of that.
Yes.
So in Buddhism, apart from absolute reality, is there, like you were talking about wrong view, is there a sort of sense of absolute reality in relative reality? A right way of perceiving relative reality?
There is a technique to deconstruct what you think is the ultimate truth. I think that's what you are talking. There is. Of course, forget on the samadhi level, even during the hearing, remember hearing, contemplation and meditation? Already in the hearing and contemplation, there is a technique to so you think, oh, that's it, that's the truth. So you deconstruct. But the real deconstruction has to come in the samadhi. That there is.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yes?
I have a question about the Buddha's earring and the earring of the girl, whichever is the same thing in a way. But when the Buddha takes the earring off, did you say also taking off cognizance? Were you talking about the earring and when did the earring get put on the girl's ear? Was it there before she was born? And then you talked about this was yesterday. And then you talked about the Buddha having an earring, but the Buddha takes off his earring, and then he takes off his cognizance.
Yes. Cognitions. Cognizer, whatever. Yeah, subject and object both, all gone. No earring, nothing.
And then you didn't want to talk any further.
What?
There was something else, but you didn't want to speak about it.
Probably because I didn't know. I wasn't reading it properly.
You mentioned naked, being naked.
Yes, naked. Yeah. There is paintings even. They're very proud of it. Those people who paint like that. There's a whole lineage.
I don't think you were talking about that kind of naked.
I think so. I think that's what you are talking about.
Taking off the earring, taking off the cognizance.
Yeah, actually, to be more precise, they don't even take off. There's nothing to take off.
Okay, thank you.
To be more precise.
Yeah.
Taking off is in the process, the path.
Thank you, Rinpoche. I have a question. So, since November, I quite active, attend the Buddhist teachings, meet teachers, and spend time with Sangha. And what I found that sometimes I feel a strong connection with the Buddhist past, and feel that it is mine, and I can find all answers. And sometimes I don't feel it at all. And I had doubts that this really can clarify all delusions which arises in my mind and make my perception clearer and so on. So can you give an advice what is better to pay attention on when you're like a beginner in a Buddhist path, and how to deal with this kind of delusions? Thank you.
If you are a beginner or new, let's say a year or two, I will strongly suggest hearing and contemplation, which includes reading and really listen to everything and contemplating. And yeah, you can sit and you can do shamatha, like breathing, watching that. But after a while, you need to renounce the hearing. You should. And that will happen, I think, if you do enough contemplation. Because you will realize everything is just a point of view. So probably this will make you, give you some strength to, what do you call it, cultivate the technique to go inward, contemplate more deeper. Okay. For instance, like the Vipassana, even Vipassana on the most basic level, first we just observe the body and then observe the feeling. Now the second two things, observing the mind, that's the third, observing the mind and observing the Dharma. That's where I think you will gain confidence. I hope I'm answering your question. Basically, you need to, I think the safest way, I would suggest, highly recommend, do the hearing and contemplation. Okay?
Rinpoche, thank you for a second question. For a person who is compelled or has an uncontrollable desire to seek the unknown from known to the unknown, walk the path, how would you reconcile this with the concept of shunyata or impermanence and relative or ultimate truth?
For someone who really wants to
seek.
This one actually is already laid out quite nicely. For instance, let's talk about the three characters. The first thing that you hear the Buddhists will say is anicca. Everything is impermanent. Second, they talk about dukkha. But, think about it. That's a plot. That's what I was talking about, the plot. There is an ulterior motivation. There is obviously Buddha did not come here to talk about, hey, we are all going to die. Everybody knows this. Oh, nothing satisfies us, dukkha. These two are what we call expedient path. And they are really good expedient because they are actually something that especially the first one, anicca it's acceptable. Yes, habitually maybe you cannot, but if you think about it, it's true. But then you cultivate, you habituate yourself. And then dukkha also, you can now, after these two, then anatta becomes very easy. I understand, I think the stuff like shunyata, anatta, right from the beginning, forget emotionally, even intellectually is difficult. But anicca and dukkha, to the certain extent, is acceptable, right? Once you accept this, then at least you can use technique like everything is just my opinion, everything is just my projection. Once you can really understand that everything is just my projection, not just intellectually, but emotionally, I think I would say 80% of the shunyata you have achieved. Because the problem with not having the shunyata is always thinking that everything is there. It's not my projection, it's not my idea, it's not my opinion, it's actually there. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, maybe 2 questions and then we sort of wrap this.
Thank you. Thank you, Rinpoche. I would like to ask a question about half the chapati again. You said that, if we manage our dhatus and skandhas, we could move from eating 6 chapatis and survive and be happy with half. Even a 10-minute nap would be okay. And this would take a lifetime to do. But then you went ahead and said that the Buddhists are not aspiring to do that either. And for them, even half the chapati should become irrelevant. And I did not really understand what that meant. Was it more metaphorical? So if it was, then what does that mean?
I'm talking more about that you should transcend the path. That's what I'm talking about.
What does that mean in a layman's sense?
Well, to be very straight, that you have to get rid of Buddhism. That's what it is, really. If you don't, then you are still stuck. It's clearly said. Like a boat, if you go to the other shore, this is a classic text, but like a boat, if you go to the other shore, you take the boat, you reach other shore, get rid of the boat. That's what I was talking about. All this anatta, dukkha, samadhi, all this no need. Those are just technique. Okay, one more.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So, Rinpoche, as we know, motivation is the most important, right? So, when I was reading, just going through Bharata Tutul, I came across this phrase which really startled me, and it was anger without hatred. So, can you just throw some light on what it would actually mean?
Anger without?
To have anger without hatred.
I can already see this author who have invented this twisted linguistic stuff. Yeah, we do a lot of this kind of thing. It's okay, we can use it. Isn't there one famous one, what? Crazy wisdom? That's a good one, actually. Crazy wisdom. The Indians, they come up with all these things. I mean, the very thing that we have been talking earlier, what was it? The non-associated formation. If I go straight, it's basically like non-associated, associated. Isn't it? It's a bit like that. Formation means you can only form it by associating, no? There's many like that. Actually, the word shunyata is like this. Shunyata, tongpa ni. How do you, ni is that ta, right? Tongpa ni. Tongpa, empty. Nis. Existence. So, even the shunyata word itself is like, Indians are so good at talking two completely different things in one word. Two completely different things. Not just by the Buddha, by the way. Even the rickshaw drivers, they say they talk like this. We don't know. So, if you are a Japanese or people who are really orderly, you will have a really amazing experience here. Like orderly, sort of very, first this, second this. It's difficult.
But
Okay.
like, just extending on that, so I think I read one of your commentaries on Uttara Tantra, and you had mentioned that there are 2 different ways people, like, you can go through this, and one is like focusing on the empty part, and the other one is focusing on the ness part. So
Yes.
how are these 2 like different?
Oh, that one is a big question. I will have to talk some other time, this one. This is a really, this one has a lot of different lineages and scholars and pages after pages written. It's not as simple as, what? glass is half empty or glass is half full. It's not like that. It's not really like that. I think we will save it for some other time, this one. Okay. What? Okay. Okay. It's okay now, enough. Yeah. Okay, should we conclude this? I have a request. We have been too, dense and just this too much. So let's make it a little light-hearted. Can you bring the mic? And I want to put the mic here, and I want people to sing some songs. Is that okay? Yeah. This is, I have to take the opportunity because the Indians are just. Can you sing this? Okay, another one. Okay, you know that. The real reason is to make myself feel a little bit, what do you call it, not too bad. Because if there are people who know how to sing these songs, then that means they are around 50, 60 years old. Right? Okay.